what happened that made things so tough? And the answer is climate change.
You don't drive a Tesla?
No, I don't. I don't drive a Tesla.
Is that contradictory to you?
Yeah, it is. It is. And here's the contradiction, right?
What is your understanding of greenwashing, and why does greenwashing exist?
That is an amazing question. This is a misunderstood thing, and I'll just be very passionate about Scotland for a second. Nearly 90% of the energy in Scotland is from renewable sources.
Which is rain and wind.
Yeah, that's because we've got a lot of it.
Is the future still going to be fossil fuel burning to sustain the world we live in?
If you're going to walk into a business that's been devastated by climate change, it's borderline psychotic to come up with solutions that aren't respectful of the climate. We need to sort this problem out.
Web3.tv.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Traders Brawl Podcast. I'm Adel. In this podcast, we feature entrepreneurs, money gurus, business leaders, and even fitness freaks on the show. I'm Adel, your host, and if you're new here, welcome. Every week, we sit down with new entrepreneurs, disruptors, and innovators who are rewriting the rules of wealth, health, and tech. Today's guest is the CEO at Nevis Range, Scotland's top mountain resort, and founder of Wild, Woven, and Whisky. He's known for turning adventure into sustainable impact, leading his resort to net zero with hydro energy, upcycled hotels, and a globally respected culture. Now expanding into Dubai, Chris blends business, nature, and storytelling to build movements, not just brands. Chris, welcome to the Traders Brawl Podcast.
Great to be here. That's quite the intro. Thanks very much, man.
It's my pleasure. I'm just going back to where we met for context of the audience. We met at Money Monday.
Yeah, what a great event that is as well.
Pleasure to meet you there. And you were the only one in the entire venue dressed in a kilt.
That kind of happens.
That was really unique about you because that made me want to speak to you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm always on brand, never off brand, sort of thing. And, I'm fiercely proud of my Scottish heritage and the fact that we've got a Scottish company. But also, I'm not going to lie, if you're out there networking and you're pitching for business and things like that, if you've got a really unique identifier that makes people want to talk to you, use that.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's one of the key defining characteristics about you that made me think, oh, we've got a Scottish person in the room. Let me go say hi and see what this comes out of. You know what I mean? But
I've got to say, right, being in the UAE, and it's been fascinating for me because I go all over the world representing not just my company, but also Scotland, and trying to do my best for it. And what's been amazing about being in the UAE and being in my kilt all the time is the amount of people that will stop me on the street and say, it's great to see someone celebrating their country's traditions. So it's been a real special connection, meeting many Emirati people who are just happy to talk about shared culture and observing traditions. So it's opened up windows and doors that I never thought would.
And it's great because now, because of that, you're on the podcast. And
absolutely, right?
It's crazy. So let's get straight into it.
Sure.
So Chris, you're CEO of Nevis Range.
Yeah.
Back in 2022, I note that you were shortlisted for Business Leader of the Year at the 2022 Highland Business Awards.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to know, as CEO, what sort of, and that award, was that sustainable? Was that related to sustainability?
Yeah, so there was a lot of sustainability involved in that. But, if I'm casting my mind back, that was also about emerging from COVID and kind of like all the things that we did back then to get people back into work and to get people coming back up mountains and things like that, and really promoting getting people outdoors. And we had a huge advantage because everywhere else in the country, people really couldn't go out and there was space. Well, we've got a mountain, space not an issue. So we're able to do that. So we were able to actually grow out of COVID. In fact, in that final kind of year of madness, which almost seems weird that it all happens now, we had one of our busiest years in our history.
Damn, pretty cool. And going back to that, now since you're in the sustainability space, and you told me that you've already achieved carbon neutrality.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious, before we even get to this, what made you enter this industry?
Or enter the sustainable side of it. Well, that is a story that goes way back to the early 90s, where when I left school, I went and did Scotland's first ever climate change degree, because I was really passionate about that. And back then, it was actually, this is so weird and boring, it was all about radiation fallout over Scotland from Chernobyl, and I was really fascinated by that. But I dropped out after 3 weeks and became a stand-up comedian.
3 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks of school.
Right. 3 weeks of that and dropped out to become a comedian. Right. And this gets worse. My business partner, John, did the same course. He dropped out after 4 weeks. He lasted a week longer than me, and then he went to art school.
Wow.
So we both dropped out of that and did things.
Wow.
But the thing is, what
does that say about sustainability courses?
Man, it doesn't say much. But hey, you must get this all the time as well. Don't you love it when someone comes up to you and says something like, I've got a marketing degree, and you're like, well, that was out of date the moment you left school, or wasn't it? So sustainability is the same because it's always changing and stuff like that. And I think that I'm kind of much more interested in all the time in people who live something rather than study it. But
makes sense, action rather than theory.
Yeah, learn by doing.
Learn by doing.
Academia, not for me.
Brilliant. So fast forward now, and at Nevis Range, how did you achieve carbon neutrality?
Do you know what? I'm gonna answer just another part of that first, right?
Sure.
So when I got to Nevis Range, right, and entrepreneurs out there will feel this one. We've had times where we've been parking the company down the street so the bank can't find it. We've been through the tough times. The question is why? What happened that made things so tough? And the answer is climate change. Right. So Nevis Range has been in existence for 36 years, and it started life as a ski resort, and that's a really hard thing to do when there's no snow left. Right. And when I kind of got there, we were in that transition period where the snow had gone. Right. So you're going from a business that had 50,000 skiers a year, right, going to zero. Right. So first thing, companies in trouble. So you got to be cognizant of, we need to sort this problem out. Right. The second thing is, if you're going to walk into a business that's been devastated by climate change, it's borderline psychotic to come up with solutions that aren't respectful of the climate, and actually think about going there. So that was kind of like the second genesis of it, if you like, for me, is you're getting in somewhere that's been affected by climate change. So I wanted to change things, and I wanted to be sustainable. I wanted to preserve the mountain that I'm so proud of and passionate about, but I wanted to do it in a sustainable way that also made money, right? And the fact is that it can be done. So the board, the company, myself, everyone, we built a hydro plant so that we could take care of Nevis Range's needs energy-wise. And there's two ways you can look at this. It's very sustainable, obviously, but it's also about energy security. And when you look at Europe right now, where in most European countries, UK in particular, energy is like the second highest cost of every business, but we don't have that problem because we've taken care of energy security. So sustainability, it's all about the different ways that you look at, because it is also very profitable.
How did you build a did you say hydroelectric station?
Yeah, so like we've got in Scotland we call them burns. You'd call them a stream or something like that. Lots of water coming off the mountain,
right?
Sort of thing. And we built a hydro plant that sort of captures the water, turns turbines, and then drives the electricity at Nevis Range.
So you built your own hydro plant.
So yeah,
normally normally you wouldn't build your own, would you?
Well, we got involved with some guys who knew what they were doing because we didn't. So a company called Green Cat, and they came and built it. They came in as partners with us on it and stuff like that. But yeah, it was all our project.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. That's great.
I mean, the one thing we've got a lot of in Scotland is rain and water, so...
That's true. So you make use of it, obviously, to convert it into energy and then use that energy for powering your cities.
Absolutely.
Right.
And this is a misunderstood thing, and I'll just be very passionate about Scotland for a second. Nearly 90% of the energy in Scotland is from renewable sources.
Which is rain and wind.
Rain and wind. Yeah, that's because we've got a lot of it. But the weird thing is, because it's the UK, the energy prices that your consumer pays for their home bills are still related to the old-fashioned energy formula and not where it's actually coming from. But that's
So I'm curious, when I pay my energy bill,
sure,
I'm paying it to a company. That's the utilities company. They take care of it, whatever. If I don't pay, then they could cut my electricity.
Sure.
Now, in your case, since you have your own energy company. Is that right?
Yeah,
that takes care of the bills.
So we've got a company there, which is this hydroelectric plant. That just provides us with power.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. So you don't need to obviously pay anyone.
Well, you kind of do. It's like any corporate structure. You've got that set up as a different company. There's money transfers between the two and all that sort of stuff. But the reality is, no, we can't get cut off.
It's sort of like if you owned your own bank.
Yeah.
Imagine owning your own bank for a second. Like you're not depositing it to any third party. It's yours.
Yeah.
That's what the really wealthy, super ultra wealthy do.
Yeah.
Then you've got like wide,
So you're getting into one of my passion areas now, which is like, how is money actually created by banks?
Exactly.
And it's when things are credited, it's not controlled by central bank.
Exactly.
That's like
it's not controlled by central banks.
That one.
Yeah. It's not your own bank. Well, it's private bank. You might have some regulatory reporting to do.
Yeah.
But you're still the owner of the bank.
Yeah, and effectively you're creating currency that goes into an economy. You are creating wealth. You are creating money.
Correct.
Yeah.
In that same concept. Is that what you've done with energy?
I understand where you're going with that. Effectively, we've got an energy need, but it's not inexhaustible.
Okay.
Right? So, rivers go dry, stuff like that. The other thing that happens in Scotland a lot is they freeze.
Right?
And if they freeze, it's not turning, and you're importing energy from the grid at that point. So it's not 100% energy supply.
I see.
It's about 70%. But effectively, what we've done is, if you say a venue like ours in the UK right now, would probably pay close to £1 million a year for electricity. We've taken care of £700,000 a year of that.
Okay, so you got a huge discount on your energy bill.
That's the way to look at it, yeah. So we've created that discount.
That's really
those
cool.
actions. Yeah. And of course, if you're then talking about what is the carbon footprint of a business, a lot of a business's carbon footprint comes from the energy that you require. And we're a really energy intensive company, because of all the stuff we do, just takes power. Right, so we've basically neutralized that part of it.
Brilliant, love it. I'll move on to my next question.
Sure.
So climate policies are often drafted by people in cities who own Teslas and MacBooks. You love Teslas.
I do love Tesla. They're a great car.
Yeah.
Wouldn't buy one, but.
But the economic pain is usually falls on the miners, the actual people on site, the truckers, the factory workers, the small businesses. So. For example, when a power plant or mine closes, jobs do get removed.
Yeah, they do.
So is this a harsh reality that no one wants to talk about, despite the shift toward greener initiatives?
Do you know, I think there's a lot of ways to answer this question. And, I'm going to be kind of a little bit biased by the fact that I live in a rural area. Okay. Where I am, there's like 5 people and the occasional sheep. Sort of thing. The closest town is Fort William to us. Now, the biggest business in Fort William is actually an aluminium plant, an aluminium smelter.
Ooh.
Okay? And all of its energy is renewable.
Oh.
Okay? Because it's got its own hydro plant on a much larger scale than the one that we've built. So they have actually created as close as you can get to effectively carbon neutral energy for producing aluminium. No. So my point is that it can be done. It absolutely can be done. And by the way, that plant is owned by one of the largest steel companies in the world. It's owned by Liberty Steel or Alvance or whatever name it is they're actually going by these days, because I think they change that every couple of years. But that's one of the largest companies in the world, and it's the largest steel companies in the world, and it's Indian-based. And they have got a carbon neutral aluminium plant in Scotland, so it can be done. What I would say, though, on a broader scale, I don't necessarily think it's I think that quite often rural communities get really badly affected by a lot of policies that are made in cities, but I don't necessarily think it's the environmental ones. I think that people in rural communities feel the need for that preservation even more keenly sometimes, but they're a bit more realistic about how it should be achieved. I think, and in Europe in particular, you'll know where I am on this one. I think when governments write net zero policies, it would really help if they knew what they were talking about. And, I don't know when we decided that not to talk about pollution. When I was studying for 3 weeks on all that sort of stuff, we were talking about pollution and not, kind of like a doing no evil sort of thing. And we've got away from that. And what I think is happening with these government policies now, again, in Europe, is you're blaming the consumer. You're blaming the people and saying, you're making too many trips, you're taking too many flights, you should pay for this plastic bag. All of these solutions are nonsense. Change can happen. And that aluminium plant is the perfect example of how it can work.
But it requires a lot of investment. I'm assuming doesn't it, to build that hydroelectric plant?
Well, if you do it as like an economies of scale type of thing here, it cost us, call it £5 million to build our one. Right. No, less than that, about 3 million actually. And you're just sort of multiplying up. It probably cost for those hydro things. I mean, that hydroelectric side of it was actually built in the 1950s, believe it or not.
Okay.
There. You multiply it. Maybe that would cost 100 million now, right?
Maybe.
But if you own your own energy supply, you've got the energy security and all that stuff. That's priceless.
Yeah. Now you're good. You've got energy freedom.
Exactly. It's exactly that.
You've got energy freedom for life.
100%. That's exactly the way to look at it. This is what I kind of like get passionate about going out to people, like energy freedom and security.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best thing you could possibly have, right?
Right. Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's move on to what you're building in the UAE.
Yeah.
Wild Woven and Whisky, which is your brand that tells sort of Scotland's story.
Yeah.
So what led to this idea? So is there a link between what you're building in the food and beverage industry with the pub and sustainability? Or is it two completely passions?
No, we're still keeping them close together. So I'll give you kind of like the idea, and then I'll tell you how we're keeping those two concepts quite close together. So at Nevis Range in Fort William, we've got our own hotel. We built that out of upcycled materials. That's another crazy, weird story. We've got 3 restaurants and things like that. And we've got gift shops, we've got bike shops and, all sorts of crazy nonsense going on there. But we decided we wanted like a brand to hold together like the food outlets and the retail outlets and stuff. So we came up with Wild Woven and Whisky. Right? And what we wanted to do is give what Scotland's really great at a chance, right? Now, something we're really bad at is manufacturing, right? We're appalling. We can manufacture whiskey at scale. We cannot manufacture anything else at scale. It's just not really happening. Don't know if you know this, but Grand Theft Auto is from Scotland. That's something we do at Scotland.
Really? It's from
Dundee, yeah.
Oh, wow. It's not from the US?
No, that is a Scottish game.
That is a Scottish game?
Yeah, that's from Dundee, which is a crazy tone.
Love that.
But anyway, that's kind of weird aside. But if you can't make clothing at scale, we decided to turn that into our advantage and say, right, well, in that case, let's work with small Scottish designers. Maybe they've only got 10 pieces in their collection. We don't care. We'll put that on. So the idea is that whenever you're coming to us to buy sort of like traditional Scottish gifts, it's a limited run. Everything's unique. There's only going to be 10 pieces. You might not see that stuff again. Right. So we decided to take that disadvantage, turn it into an advantage. And that started growing in Scotland and became a real passion for us. Now, the whole UAE link for us is a bit of an interesting one, because over the last few years, we've become a truly international business. Now, some people will probably know us for our sport, and we should talk about that a bit later because we've got a crazy reputation there. But on an annual basis, I bring about 10,000 visitors a year from the UAE to Scotland. And we bring about 50,000 from India to Scotland as well. So we thought we wanted to get some boots on the ground over here. Go open a travel agency, maybe open the Wild Woven and Whisky retail brand over here. And we started doing that. And I just thought, we should probably open a whiskey bar too, right? If we're here. And that was the extent of the conversation between me and my business partner. We thought that might be fun. Let's try it. Mm-hmm. We got an amazing premises, and you jump forward about 30 steps, and we're planning to open 10 bars in the next 2 years over here. So it's going to be a crazy fun journey.
So you're entering the food and beverage industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I started.
That's where you started, even before sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. That was way back. Hey,
so you've got roots in this.
When you drop out of uni to become a comedian, you still got to feed yourself, right? And if you're a really bad comedian, which I was, then you end up doing hospitality jobs. But I had a career in kind of the luxury wine bar market in London. That's where it all started for me. So this is kind of like a return. Return to the late 90s for me.
And what do you make of the fact that the UAE being in the Middle East, sort of like with the narrative of being a Muslim country, how does that impact you? How did that affect your strategy to locate here or relocate here?
Well, I had a couple of questions maybe for you here as well, right? And I know we were having a chat beforehand. I think, with everything that's going on in Europe right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I get this from my friends, like, the Middle East, really? And I'm actually saying to them, and they're expecting me to come back with some sort of crack, and I say, but hey, guys, what is freedom? Because over here, I've got the most supportive business community I've ever known in my life. Never known like this, anything in any other country in the world. You go to a networking event, go to your networking event, everyone wants to know your story and see if they can help, and they become mini networkers for you as well. We're all promoting each other. And the appetite for investment is huge. And I just think this is the most respectful and safest place I've ever lived in my life. And I'm so passionate about doing well here. Obviously, when you're bringing an alcohol product to control this, you've got to be really respectful of the culture and the society. But there is a vibrant bar community here. I mean, how does this? How many pours of Scottish whiskey do you think there were in Dubai bars last year?
I couldn't guess.
25 million.
Wow.
Right? That 25
Scottish whiskey.
Of Scotch whiskey. Wow. 25 million shots were poured in Dubai bars last year. So there's definitely a market for what we want to do.
And in addition to that, there's McGettigan's, which is, I'm sure you know of.
Yeah.
They have many chains of McGettigan's in Dubai. So, watching sports.
I think the one dependable thing anywhere you go in the world is you're going to find an Irish pub.
Yeah. McGettigan's is Irish, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what we're trying to do is say, hey, we can also have Scottish bars. Let's
have a Scots. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I get to be hybrid. My name's O'Brien. I've got an Irish name. Right. So
love it. Awesome. That's really cool. So this is really cool. You're sort of bridging. So you've got sustainability on one side. Yeah. You've got beverage. F&B. You say food and beverage. You're in the food and beverage. I'm curious to know now, when it comes to actually sustaining that model, the restaurant model, because it's a restaurant in the day, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's staffing to pay. There's ordering this supply. What are the costs like, and what's sort of the ROI on that? I'm curious to know.
Great example. That is a brilliant question, because I'll give you the ROI percentage, and I'll tell you the difference to what it is in UK right now, right? Because if I was to open a brand new whiskey bar in Edinburgh, my setup costs would be extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary, and my ROI probably 5% if I'm really lucky on an annual basis. Like if I'm really lucky, okay. Over here, closer to 40%.
Wow.
Okay.
Big margins.
That is a big margin. When you start putting it in those terms, like people suddenly go, "Oh, now I see why you're doing what you're doing." So the cost management here is so much easier. And not only that, you've got actually a workforce that want to work.
Mm-hmm. But I will. Sorry to interrupt. I will.
Sure.
I want to make this sort of interactive, where I sort of challenge based on I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, go for it.
There are quite high setup costs, arguably. So setup, maybe you have to renew it every 2 years, whatever. That's one side. But the second thing is everyone in Dubai has to have a sponsored visa, unless they're local.
True.
So there's that cost.
Yeah.
Compared to being in Scotland, where you could hire locals anyway.
Sure.
Who would do the job willingly and even intern for the job.
Absolutely.
As they're in university. So have you taken that into account?
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to have to use some boring numbers here.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the biggest cost increases in the UK this year has been about national insurance and the cost to you as a company to actually employ people.
Oh, yeah.
And that's been an astronomical rise this year.
Yeah.
So the cost of employing people is phenomenal. And I'm not talking about their wages. I'm talking about all the add-on costs, right?
Just to hire.
Yeah, just to hire, to onboard somebody, to continue paying them. You're looking at really about a 20% cost per employee on top of their wages. And of course, wages are quite high in relative terms in Europe right now, right? So that's a big factor. We've also got over there, it's not a really competitive employment market because there's not enough people. Right. So when you don't have competitiveness for a job and you've got high wages, you've really got to rely on your company culture, and we can do that, thankfully, at Nevis Range. Over here, I have to say that the setup costs, I would say, are surprisingly low. And I know you go on TikTok and you'll see a lot of people saying, "I thought it was surprisingly high" and stuff like that. But we walked in with our eyes open, so it's been within what we expect. But I think it's just a different type. You've probably got a slightly higher onboarding cost for employees,
right,
but a much lower maintenance cost for employees. And then I also have an unfair advantage. right? And the unfair advantage that we have is that we're a pretty cool brand.
Yeah.
People want to work for us. And when it comes to building stuff, well, me and my business partner, we're old-fashioned. We'll build the bar ourselves, and that's what we are doing.
That's interesting. That's an interesting perspective because rent costs as well, taken into account per annum, and a nice, high prime area as well. It sort of has been a shock to some people who have come here to Dubai. They've come here initially on vacation,
Sure.
and then they were like, "Okay, I'm really, really by lust. I want to move here, relocate." They relocate and they realize, "Oh my God." I used to shop at Tesco for like £100, and I'd buy like whole months of supply. Now I'm paying £100 for 1 week's worth of supply. I'm sort of exaggerating.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But Tesco, Lidl, and all that.
Yeah, sure.
I miss those days. I'll be honest. I miss the days when I shopped there.
Well,
and Sainsbury's.
24 Dutch lagers for £5.
Can you believe? Can you believe?
Yeah.
So there's that as well, because everything seems to be taken from abroad into Dubai. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know there's quite a lot. There's quite a lot to unpack in that. What I would say, like, if you're for living here, embrace local culture, embrace local food. What do you know? I spend a lot of time in Mumbai, right?
Okay.
And my friends always ask me, what's it like in Mumbai? And I always say to them, listen, if you've got like £1 in your pocket, you can eat for £1. If you've got £20, you can eat for whatever. Even if you've got 2p in your pocket, you're going to find a guy who's going to sell you an egg and an onion. What I love about Mumbai is you can eat for any amount of money. You just got to get to know the city.
That's true. That's true.
Dubai, I think you talk about people coming on vacation and go, I got to move there.
I got to move here. Sun's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt the same about Disney World, but that would have been crazy. I do think people need to take better advice before they set up businesses. I think that's, but it's certainly, my impression of it is that all the costs are reasonable if you know what you're getting into.
Let's talk a bit about Scottish whiskey.
Let's.
Is there a misconception that you'd like to address about Scottish whiskey that you want to correct? Is there something that people don't know about Scottish whiskey, the culture? Is that one of the reasons you wish to bring it into Dubai and open up shop?
I'll tell you why. I really want to do it because I'm passionate about whiskey. I really, really am. I'm passionate about our traditions and the rituals with it and having fun with it. But I was in Mumbai a few months ago with some friends of mine who run a company called Star Tours. Great guys. Anyway, I took them a bottle of whiskey over as a present, and they kind of like poured themselves a glass, and they got some ice from a local ice machine, and they dropped it into that whiskey. And frankly, I was kind of like saying, I think I might have rather you shot one of my children in front of me than did that. Because you just ruined 50 years of artistry. You're probably going to have to cut that. They're going to see that one day. No, 50 years of artistry was ruined in the drop of an ice cube, man. It was a crime. It was an absolute crime.
From one ice cube? Or couple?
Because it's bad water. It's really bad water. And it was so you think this whiskey had been aged in a barrel for 50 years.
50 years.
And then you're dropping in a really poor quality product. And
it's just ice.
But it's bad water, so it's going to take away from the taste. But right, so tell you, the foodie in me, tell you something I could never understand, right? There'd be a bad bottle of wine and somebody would say, use it as cooking wine. I'm like, why? Why wouldn't you put something good in your food? Why something bad? It's the same with whiskey. If you're going to pay like $1,000 for a bottle of whiskey, surely you want something that enhances the flavor and not something that takes away from it. So that kind of like got our minds ticking, and we thought, okay, we can do something with this. We can actually, because we're going to bring a new product to Dubai as well. We've actually got a water that is specifically formulated to complement whiskey. And we're going to be launching that over here called Nevis Whiskey Water. And we're going to launch that in our own bar. And we've got initial inquiries for about 100,000 bottles to other high-end bars. And, if you're going to launch a luxury product, what better place in the world to do it than Dubai? So there's lots of method to our madness. But it was that one event where I kind of thought, oh, wow. I never like to patronize and educate people about products. But it's like, we can make that better.
You can because you're Scottish.
Yeah.
Others can't.
Absolutely.
Now, following on from that, When it comes to actually supplying the supply to meet demand, are you going to do all production in here to like make the bottles here, or you're going to do it in Scotland?
What we're actually going to do is we're going to ship the water over in like basic giant containers and bottle it in country, because that's the more sustainable method. Because obviously if we were to bottle it in Scotland, we'd increase the pack size, so then which would increase the space taken up on the and so on and so forth.
You'll do it here and do everything.
Absolutely. But that's kind of like an end of the year kind of launch.
Right.
But that one's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, that's the thing. The plans we've got are going to take Nevis Range 10x in the next 3 years. And the whiskey water, do you know what? This is one of these things where it will either be a colossal and complete failure or it's $1 billion idea. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things. And I kind of like those ideas where there's no real middle ground.
Speaking about no real middle ground, we hear lots, left, right, and center. We hear lots of companies promoting themselves as being net zero or, tackling sustainability issues when they're really not. And they're just doing it for image, or corporate social responsibility purposes.
Greenwashing is a problem.
Greenwashing is what I wanted to allude to here.
I'm here to help.
What is your understanding of greenwashing, and why does greenwashing exist?
So, that is an amazing question, and I think we can start with small examples, right? So, the small examples that kind of crack me up, but really grind my gears. Or be like, you'll go into somewhere and they say, oh, we don't do napkins because of sustainability. You're like, no, you're just ripping off the customer for a higher margin and you're packaging it up as sustainability and I don't like you. That's kind of how I feel when that happens. But because we have a huge market out there of genuinely eco-conscious people want a slice of that market. Right. No, you equate that back to what we've achieved in our business with a great company culture and a real passion for it. We have opened up our world to a world of ecotourism. We've got a great customer base from that because they know we're really doing something. But there's people who are conscious shoppers. I mean, the rise of, say, vegan leather or vegan clothes and things like that. We know there are conscious shoppers out there who want to be associated with that. And companies are doing what they can to grab a slice of that action. And it really frustrates me when you know that it's nonsense. It really frustrates me.
Why does it exist, though? Is it because they want to scam people and make money out of them?
I think it's a few things. We went through a really interesting social media period in COVID and just on the other side of it, where it wasn't just like people got cancelled, companies got cancelled. That old thing of like a company giving an apology because someone said something they shouldn't have, and everyone knows that nobody means it, but they've kind of got to do it. I think there's an element of that involved, that companies want to be seen to be doing the right thing. Whereas I think it's actually easier to actually do the right thing.
And actually show evidence that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be wrong, there are a lot of people out there who are trying to do more and more things. And I gave you this stupid napkin example. And on the face of it, that maybe is more sustainable. But there's a difference between just making margin and having a conscience.
Greenwashing is one thing. Having a conscience is another. Some actually challenge the notion that climate change exists. Some actually say climate change is a hoax.
Yeah.
And what's the basis of that? Why do you... Could you see another side to why they might have some logic behind climate change being a hoax?
Here's what I'll say. I think the solutions are completely open to debate, right? And I think, arguably, the cause has got some debatable factors, right? The change is not up for debate, right? And I know that because I stand on a mountain most days and it's different. And we've watched it change. And we've got hard data, 36 years of data, where we've got the weather every day, we've got the rainfall, the snow, the wind. It is different. On our mountain, you used to be able to ski from top to bottom in 8 feet deep snow. No, you can't, because the snow's not there. That's because of a climate change, right? So in terms of the actual change, for me, not open to debate. It's also not open to debate that there are extreme weather events that are more frequent than they were before.
Wildfires.
Absolutely. So things are definitely changing. They're definitely changing. I think that the solutions part is absolutely open to debate. I really, really do think that. And that's despite my passion. My passion and my conscience is, look, I can see how this mountain's been harmed. I don't want to do any more damage. I want to try and do the right thing to the best of my ability. And that makes money for us, so that's great as well. Right? Really, what needs to be happened, this problem is going to be solved by a couple of guys who are probably bullied at school, who are super technically smart, and we need to invest more and more in technological solutions. No problem, to my mind, in business or in the world, has ever been solved by stopping doing something. It's always solved by more investment into technology and more innovation, and we're going to keep getting there. And when you see the innovation that's happening out here in the Middle East, building sustainable communities, sustainability city, as we both know as well. Some of the innovations are incredible. We need to keep investing in that.
Are one of those innovations include Tesla cars?
So I think, and I am not an expert in how a Tesla car is made. I try not to be one of these guys who kind of reads something on social media or, God forbid, a newspaper and believes it.
Because you don't drive a Tesla.
No, I don't. I don't drive a Tesla.
Is that contradictory to you?
Yeah, it is. It is. And here's the contradiction, right? Why don't I drive an electric car? Because I live somewhere in Scotland where the electric car range in the winter drops to about 3 minutes because it's so cold, and the battery solutions aren't actually there yet. That's why we need to continue to invest in those solutions and actually improve the technology. We've got a great starting place with this stuff, but the technology's not finished yet. And the idea that the solution's ready to go, that's not the case. We need to keep improving.
I see.
But what I would say, that I think that the easy debate to have on these things is, how are these batteries made? What kind of resources are being consumed for that? What's involved in the ongoing maintenance of these things? I think that's a really interesting area, and I certainly don't have all the answers on that. All I know is that we absolutely have to do better. We have to try to do more.
Some analysts, some predictions have been saying that coal could be a better alternative to fossil fuel burning. Coal.
Wow.
I wondered what your take is on that.
Well, I'd never heard that until this moment right now, so I have absolutely no reaction to that whatsoever. Because I'm like, wow, that sounds mental.
Yeah, it is mental, I know.
That sounds mental. But I would love to see some data, because nothing surprises me anymore.
Is the future still going to be fossil fuel burning to sustain the world we live in?
There's always going to be an element. There's always going to be an element. You can't just take away the need for oil. You need oil to make wind turbines work. You are always going to have things like that. What we've got to work on is continue to create new solutions and new technologies, right? Where I start to become a little bit more controversial, I suppose, in some of my own spaces, is we should have far more nuclear facilities all over the world, because that really is energy efficiency and things like that. So you can't take away fossil fuel, but it will run out. So we should do a much better job of conserving it, because we're going to continue to need it.
Well said, well said. Okay, wow. We'll wrap it there, but I think you've answered all my questions on the sustainability side. I'm pretty pleased with that. Going forward, Chris, what's next for you in your career? Are you going to stay CEO? Are you going to eventually retire? How do you see yourself retiring?
Do you know, I do not have a good answer to the idea of retirement. I think I'm going to be some old guy on a mountain bike looking like Keith Richards or something like that when I'm 90. But I think what we want to do now, we're really passionate about growing the brand over here. But what we really want to do over here is we want to build our own mountain biking resort in the Middle East as well. There's some great examples around. I think what the guy's doing out at Hatta is amazing. We want to bring the soul of the Nevis Range brand over here as well, make sure we're doing some extreme sports here.
Right.
So I should be thinking about an exit, but I don't want to. I love it too much.
Actually, you love the hustle that comes with it.
I love all of it. You know, what's been great over here, I haven't had to do this for years, but you know, we're second about it, I'm interviewing, you know, junior staff and I'm enjoying every moment of it. You know, that buzz of creating something new. I think if I ever lose that, I'll be saying, okay, I should probably exit now. But you know, I'm not getting any younger and I haven't lost the buzz for doing new things.
Brilliant. Love it. Chris, thank you so much for this podcast. It's been very insightful.
Pleasure to be here.
I really enjoyed that, you know, you show two sides to every story. There's two sides to every coin. And yeah, there's a lot of work to be done here. And I think at least, you know, you're working towards bringing that reality closer, you know, one day at a time.
Absolutely.
So it's good to know. And for those watching, if they're interested to find out more about yourself, where can they find you?
Sure, you can always connect up to me on LinkedIn. I'm sure we can stick the profile up there or stuff like that. And you know, feel free to engage with Nevis Range's social media, where you'll find loads about our story, and you'll see some pretty interesting people trying to hurt themselves on mountains.
Love it, awesome, Chris. Thank you so much once again.
Pleasure, sir.
All right, guys, that is a wrap. Hope you found this insightful. We will leave all the links in the description so you can check out Chris's profile as well as Nevis Range. Do check him out. Do follow his journey in his sustainability career. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Web3.tv